Hello there! Today we're going to look at multiclassing with Clerics in Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. Cleric multiclasses, which can be done by many, but not all, non-humans, gain access to divine magic. It goes without saying that, and I mentioned this in my Cleric starter guide, Clerics are some of the best healers in the game. They can use these healing spells in and out of combat, although if you want to be really safe, you use them outside of combat. Don't put them in the front line to try to use them in the middle of combat. They can use these healing spells to bring a party up to fighting fit condition as needed. Now, Clerics are not only used as heal bots. First off, they can turn undead, which it's okay, but there are better ways of dealing with most undead. Hit them really hard. But they also work well as they also work well in controlling the battlefield and in buffs. They have a couple of direct damage spells as well, but really wizards and mages are a little bit better and more consistent with that direct damage magic. So we covered Cleric Fighters and Cleric Thieves already. I think it's a great idea to check out those videos, but here I can summarize those two multi-class combinations. Cleric Fighters hit harder in melee combat with Cleric weapons, and they can use those divine spells to be even beefier or to control the battlefield. Cleric Thieves gain some utility with their thieving skills, but also benefit from divine spells that can buff or control the battlefield. If you want your Cleric to be a bit beefier, with a little bit of a slower leveling up, then go ahead and be a Cleric Fighter. Cleric Thieves aren't amazing in combat, but they do get some nice buff spells, combined with handling traps and locks as needed. Cleric Mages have access to both divine and arcane spells. I like this accessibility, as I think they'll get more spells than anyone else in the game. However, for a dummy like me, I get analysis paralysis, and all of these spells can be really overwhelming. So my advice would be to memorize for both the divine magic side and the arcane magic side, is to memorize a few spells for each level and then spam them in battle or in a dungeon. There's a lot of magical power here, and they can use weapons. While they can use weapons from the Cleric weapon set, it means no daggers, but they can get flails and maces and warhammers. But they aren't intended to be frontline fighters. If you find yourself using those weapons, you might be in trouble. Cleric Mages can use any armor, helmets, or shields, but with the armor on, they can't cast arcane magic. Arcane magic gets a nice amount of both illusionary magic and direct elemental damage in their spells. So don't cast that aside if you're playing as a Cleric Mage. Don't just toss on some full plate armor for protection. Make sure that you are using those arcane spells because they're very powerful. I have two issues with Cleric Mages. First is that there are redundancies with having both forms of magic. Yes, Cleric Mages can cast healing spells, which are phenomenal, and but they also, both Divine Magic and Arcane Magic have a lot of similar spells. Both of them get True Sight, both of them get Hold Person, both of them get Animate Dead, they both get summoning spells, beefing up statistic spells, improving resistances, controlling the battlefield. So there are a lot of redundancies that occur here. And it causes, I guess, like I said earlier, it causes analysis paralysis for a lot of players, right? You have this whole massive list of different spells, and you'll find yourself just being like, okay, well, I guess I'm casting Magic Missile again just to do a little bit of damage to an opponent, when you probably could be casting something much more appropriate for an opponent. Second is the experience levels are really very slow. Yes, Clerics do get levels decently quickly, but Mages level up quite slow, and they get arcane spells slower than normal. So this severely limits the resilience, especially at early levels. So yes, Clerics at low levels get things like Armor of Faith or Resist Fear, but Mages would get something like Shield and Armor, which are okay but not phenomenal, but they also get Mirror Image, but you have to wait until your character gets at least 10,000 experience points to get that. And in the meantime, you have to be very careful about your cleric mage. You really have to have other characters be there to beef them up or to back them up and make sure that they aren't, killed. And in that case, you're not soloing. In that case, your experience points are cut even more. So it really kind of limits how quickly they can level themselves up. Now, I don't think cleric mages are bad. I think they are very, very powerful in the right hands. But they're basically only casting spells, and that's going to be it. Okay, last are cleric rangers. I'm not going to lie, I don't get cleric rangers. I'm going to describe them first, and then I'll kind of give my lack of thoughts to them. Is that they're restricted to cleric weapons, meaning that they're only using blunted or spiked weapons like morning stars, maces, warhammers, flails, right? Good weapons, decent weapons, but you lose a little bit of versatility there. They can wear any armor, helmets, and shields. Okay, that's great, but rangers can already do that, and clerics can already do that. They get turn undead. Okay, that's nice, but it's not amazing. They do get divine magic faster, or that's better than basic ranger's divine magic because it's cast at the level of the cleric class. But here's the question: is at what point do you ask yourself, why not go with a fighter cleric, right? A fighter cleric gets exactly the same things as a ranger cleric does. I'm really sorry to do this to you guys, but I really don't get the purpose of the cleric ranger. So what I'm going to ask you all to do is I'm going to ask you all to leave a comment below. Why would somebody go with a cleric ranger? Okay, now please don't just say, unless there's no other reason, don't just say it's a quote-unquote traditional class or some sort of lore reason, right? I am legitimately asking, what reason is there to go with a cleric ranger when you can go with a fighter cleric or a fighter druid or any other combination like that actually has a purpose behind it? So please leave a comment below, help me out with that. Divine magic allows for a lot of wonderful buffs, and cleric multiclasses get to take advantage of that. They get to take advantage of the best healing spells in the game. Not only that, but clerics also get access to the same full armor, helmets, and shields that fighters get. Yes, their weapon availability is limited, but the weapon choices they get aren't horrible. So you have a lot of opportunity to actually do some damage here as well. So adding classes to cleric as a multi-class gives them a little bit of survivability and gives a really great dynamic to any group that could use them throughout the entire game. Well, I hope you enjoyed the starter guide. Please check out my other content and subscribe if you like what I do. And please, once again, I gotta tell you, leave a comment below clarifying, opening my eyes about the cleric ranger. I just don't get this class. Well, that'll be it for today. Take care and good luck. We're all counting on you.